What's going on, guys? Today's video is going to be an analysis of this book, The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is like this real estate business magnate and really successful salesperson. His personality comes across as a little headstrong and maybe even douchey to some. And his idea in this book, which it really is just a one note, one idea type of book, is really reductionist. But I want to talk about this concept of the 10x rule, taking 10x actions and setting 10 times the magnitude of the goals that you originally had, because it stands on the complete opposite side of the main success ideas that I usually talk about, which is the law of attraction or cultivating life force energy or taking inspired actions after maybe meditating and visualizing, then having a sort of superconscious insight, having some sort of flash by which when you take action from that way, it makes such a huge surge, such a big difference in your life. And I suppose I like talking about success tactics in that direction because it is inspired. There is a sense of mystery and wonder with those ideas. But what Grant Cardone talks about in this book, The 10X Rule, it has its place. And when practiced, it definitely, no one can deny that taking massive action or setting big goals and acting voraciously, aggressively, like monstrously in the direction of those goals, it does, absolutely it makes a difference. So here's what Cardone says. As I look back over my life, I see that one thing that was most consistent with any success I've achieved was that I've always put forth 10 times the amount of activity that others did. For every sales presentation, phone call, or appointment others made, I was making 10 of each. When I started buying real estate, I looked at 10 times more properties than I could buy, and then made offers to ensure that I was able to buy what I wanted at the price I desired. I have approached all my business enterprises with massive action. That has been the single biggest determining factor in any success I have created. I was a complete unknown when I built my first company without a business plan. I had zero know-how or connections, and the only money I had was generated by new sales. However, I was able to build a sound, viable business just by utilizing and operating at activity levels far beyond what others considered reasonable. I made a name for myself and literally changed an industry as a result. Once I quit calculating all the wrong reasons, I committed to making this work by increasing my effort 10 times. And as soon as I did that, everything started to change immediately. I went back into the marketplace with the right estimation of effort and started seeing results. Instead of making 2 or 3 sales calls a day, I started doing 20 to 30. When I ramped up my full commitment and aligned the correct levels of thought and action, the market started responding to me. It was still hard, and I was still disappointed from time to time, but I was getting 4 times the results by making 10 times the effort. As much as I can see a sort of reductionist aspect or potential pitfalls that come with setting goals that are 10 times bigger than whatever you had in mind, and setting a set of action that's 10 times bigger than whatever I had initially thought was reasonable, I cannot help but notice that so many of the people who I admire and who I would like to emulate in some capacity, or at least emulate what they've achieved, they have always championed this idea of doing more, taking action, stepping out. Casey Neistat, someone who every YouTuber sort of admires, he has a mantra, do more. Do more. He's got that tattooed on his arm. And also always be closing.
Always be closing. Always be closing.
Yeah, I tattooed that on my arm.
And so this is of that same mentality, to get things done. I'm not telling you to be pessimistic, just be prepared. Tackle your project with the 10x rule, like your life depends on it. Manage every action as though you have a camera on you every step of the way. Pretend you're being recorded as a model by which your children and grandchildren will learn how to succeed in life. Attack everything with the ferociousness of a champion athlete who is getting his last opportunity to claim his pages in the history books. If you become obsessed with your idea, purpose, or goal, you will become equally addicted to the idea of making it work. Anyone who makes it his or her mission to create long-term, positive, 10x survival will have to approach each moment, decision, action, and day with this level of fixation. I want to briefly bring up an example, a life experience I had that really signifies the power of just going forward, going all out. My first year in LA, I lived in LA for 3 years, and it took me 8 months to finally try to reach out to agents, get my headshots. I was saving up money, I was internally building up the courage because I was so afraid, even though I was already there, to just take that leap and just pitch myself to agents. And I didn't know how to go about it. But I made a contact and he gave me a list of 30 people who I could send a postcard to, a postcard of my headshot and all the stage work that I'd done prior. I sent out that list to 30 people, absolutely mortified. And from that mailing of 30 people, I got 3 phone calls, 2 of which seemed kind of scammy or not legitimate agents, and the third one was like a very low tier commercial agent. And so sending out those 30 postcards got me a meeting with this really low tier commercial agent, another agent who turned me down, and one who seemed a little bit scammy, someone I didn't want to work with. And as a result of having that low tier agent, I got a couple of commercials, a Cadillac commercial, a couple of print jobs, but nothing major, nothing I could have even gotten outside of the Minneapolis market where I started out. The following year, I was on NoFap for the first time, and anyone who has tried doing this practice of brahmacharya, NoFap, semen retention for the first time, those first 28 days when you get to that first decently long streak, I'm sure you can remember that fire you feel, that vigor, that vim to just get out there and just do shit, get things done. I was feeling that for the first time, and it was a really exciting thing. And so I found an online directory. I bought it for like $10 with every single agency in Hollywood on that list. And most of the agencies in Hollywood, the really good ones, have an official policy that says, do not send us your material. We are not looking at any talent. Unless you're already famous, we don't want to work with you. The way I was prior, I would have definitely honored that policy. I would have been like a good boy and said, okay, it's your policy. I won't submit myself to you. When I was under this kind of obsession, I just sent out 1,000 emails. I emailed every single agent in Hollywood. I hounded for their emails. I went through every directory online or every page 10, page 12 on Google to see if I could come across an email of an agent, and I hit him up. Not only did I send my headshot and my resume, but I also sent this quick YouTube clip of me saying, hey, what's up, I'm Nikhil. I'd love to have a meeting. I trained at whatever school. And it was such an act of bravado. It was the completely impolite thing to do. And ultimately, I think it must have been 1,200 emails that I sent. And I got a couple of angry emails in response saying this is against our policy. You are going to be ignored. I got mostly no responses. And then I got a handful of meetings with the big agencies, big managers, the head of casting at CBS, just by blasting everyone with these emails. And even when I was talking to this pretty decently ranked agency, this talent agent, he said, how did you get a meeting with Karen Church? She doesn't talk to anyone. I just said I emailed her, and she said she'd be happy to meet with me. All the visualization, all the law of attraction-y stuff that I'd been trying prior paled in comparison to just blasting these agencies and giving it a go that one time. And it really taught me something about operating at 10x levels. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger who said, don't break the law, but also don't be afraid to break the rules. I suggest that you become obsessed about the things you want. Otherwise, you are going to spend a lifetime being obsessed with making up excuses as to why you didn't get the life you wanted. Entrepreneurs, and especially salespeople, suffer most when they fail to go all in. Once you take 10x actions and start getting traction, you must continue to add wood to your fire until you either start a brush fire or a bonfire, or burn the place down. Don't rest and don't stop, ever. I learned this the hard way after achieving a lot of success and then resting on my laurels. This is a commonly made mistake. Do not do it. Keep stacking wood until the fire is so hot and burns so brightly that not even competitors or market changes can put your fire out. I do want to reiterate the fact that there are definitely 2 types of work, and Grant Cardone is only talking about the one kind, the mechanical kind, the kind we can see, called crank work. There is an element to doing your work that is inspired. That's the kind of work ethic that Nikola Tesla operated out of, or Leonardo da Vinci. A lot of genius comes not from these crank forces, but rather in a state of being in a high vibration. And that comes when you take rest appropriately as well, and you make time for your disciplines, your sadhana, like meditation and exercise and getting enough sleep. I definitely believe that these are not things to be neglected. But it is up to every individual to determine how much force they are giving in terms of their energy and how much force they are giving in terms of sheerly getting out there and taking the action. The successful are a lot like magicians. They don't deal in other people's realities. Instead, they are bent on creating a new reality for themselves that is different from the ones that others accept. Do not reduce your goals as you write them. Do not get lost in the details of how to accomplish them at this point. Ask yourself, what actions can I take today to move me towards these goals? Take whatever actions you come up with, regardless of what they are and how you feel. Do not prematurely value the outcome of your actions. Go back each day and review the list. And the curious thing about doing more crank activities, even if they don't immediately lead to results, is it feels so inspired. It's like you're telling yourself something different. You're like, I'm a different person. I stepped outside of my obligations. I stepped outside of the comforts that, give me happiness, and I tried something new. It probably won't work out, but I emailed all these people and I studied this skill and I played an instrument and I tried all these new activities and I created that new song. Like I put it out there, I created, I worked, I strived, I learned. Something new happened today, something that made me more than I was yesterday, and I experienced something that I hadn't done before. It's an inspired way to live. And for those of us who are willing to not only work with the energies of the universe and work with the law of attraction, but also embody those crank forces, and when needed, when we have the energy and when we're in that state of mind, to be voracious about things, to us I say, greatness is coming. Cheers.